Hello, hello. Welcome. I have absolutely no way of knowing how many people are here other than...
Hello.
Hi, Garrett.
Hi.
Welcome, Stephanie. Lovely.
You get a
we don't
message
have a lot
saying
of
how many people
time.
have joined.
We don't have a lot of time, so we'd best get started. I'm overjoyed that so many people have decided to join us. Let's start with, I've set up a shared Google document for this. Hopefully you will all be able to, change to anyone with the link. Yes, copy link. Hopefully you will all be able to load that Google Doc and edit it, should you need to. As I briefly mentioned in the pitch, this is a project which is just getting underway. It should have been just getting underway this time last year, but then the pandemic happened. So timelines have slipped, but that's okay. So I'm at the stage now where the network has a website. The website link is in that Google Doc. And it's also here. We've got a mailing list, we've got a chat room, we've got some infrastructure. Let's get it started. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Can you all see that? Seems to be working. So the kind of overall timescale for this is we're in this launch phase now for the rest of the first half of this year, starting to get things up and running and starting to get more people involved and understand exactly what this network could mean and be for everyone. And then for the rest of the year, the plan is to actually start running activities and doing things with a view to looking back at it at the end of 2021 and seeing what worked and what didn't work and where we go from there. So I will just briefly mention while I've got this web page open. We also have a code of conduct. Broadly speaking, it says that we should treat each other with respect. And if you feel that you are seeing any behaviour which is not acceptable, please do drop me an email or get in contact some other way. There's also a link to that code of conduct in the Google Doc. So now it's your turn. Let's switch that off again. So we're going to start this off with an exercise that we call silent documenting. So I'm going to stick a heading in down here. And I want you to open up that Google document. Some people might have missed it, so I'm going to put it in again. If you opened it before I changed the view settings, you might need to reload the document.
So I've tried it again and it didn't seem to work.
Okay. Other than close, the other option might be to close the browser window and to reopen it again. No one seems to have access to it. Maybe I need to reload it. This is what happens when you run a Unconference session for the first time on very short notice. Got it. Sharing this. Oh, I see. Right. Permission updated. Okay, now if you reload the document, you should be able to edit it. And hopefully I should see if that's worked, because people will start writing in it. Fingers crossed. Yes. So yes, if you would like to introduce yourself by way of putting your name and a few bits and pieces around about yourself, and then I will add a header down at the bottom here. It's underneath where it says requirements. So I would like you to put in here a bit about what your interest in data science is and what you'd like to be able to do. Feel free to be anonymous or put your name next to that as you please. If you like, a few thoughts about what's helped you learn and develop so far, and what the barriers are at the moment that are stopping you from getting to wherever it is that you want to. And so we'll take about 5 minutes to do that, and then we will come back together and have a more of an interactive discussion around that. Okay, so your turn. Right, I'm just going to give you another minute to finish up your thoughts. Then we'll have a bit of a chat about that. Fantastic, thanks everyone. It looks like that's the writing is starting to wind down a bit now. So I'd like to invite anyone who would like to in fact, feel free to all turn on your cameras. Anyone who would like to turn on your camera and mic or just your mic, and tell us a bit more about what you've written or comment on what else you've seen. Anna, I wonder if you'd like to comment on in a bit more detail about what your opposite problem to me is.
Hi, I'm not sure if I'm on. Am I on?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I have some knowledge of humanities. I have a background in humanities. I have very little knowledge of data science, but I see that now you were actually referring more to digital humanities, and this is still on my to learn list.
Brilliant, thanks very much. Patricia, you turned your video on. Have you got something to add?
I think just to make this a bit more interactive, I think like, well, I hardly have like any hands-on projects any longer, and I also don't work with researchers any more directly. But I like, especially working on a lot in the fair space. I think there is a lot of terminology that is just a bit weird to glam folks sometimes. So I think it's for me, it's more the meta interest, how to bring this community together with others and make them feel welcome in some of the discussions. Don't know if that makes sense, but there are kind of quite a few skills and training material out there that they're not looking at or scared to look at or feel is not for them. So it's yeah, my interest is a bit in how much do we need to rework to make that work, or is it just a glossary or a marketing approach?
Yeah, the language thing is interesting because I guess it's obvious by now I come from a science background. I know you do too, Patricia. And well, you've been exposed to folks at CERN.
Yeah, like I've done a career with physicists, but I've actually studied like
language.
humanities. I've actually do have like just a humanities degree. So yeah, weirdly enough, just never used it properly in Angular, I think.
Now's your chance. Yeah, there's so many, like, it can be so off-putting to walk into a room and straight off people are using words that mean something different to how they seem to be using them. So that's actually really important. Armin.
Hello, Armin. I'm research data manager in the University of Limerick. And besides doing all this normal research data stuff, one of the projects we want to do is to build a data lab here, which promotes the digitized contents of our special collections here in the library and encouraging the researchers to use them somehow. So that's the idea for when lockdown is over to get that going. So of course I'm very aware of what the British Library is doing in their lab and doing something like this on a smaller scale. So that's where I'm coming from. So, and if meeting people who are thinking about similar things, that would be great, and sharing approaches.
Yeah, that sounds great. The Glam Labs community has done some really good stuff, and I think one of the valuable things that this kind of network could do is sort of give people the skills that they need to get started in that, because a lot of the Glam Labs community's stuff is you already know all about digital humanities and you want to help other people do it. So again, there's a missing stair there. Garrett, hi. Your microphone is turned off, I think. It's still turned off, unfortunately. Yes, yeah, saw you'd been writing a lot. Oh, no, but now I can hear you typing, so maybe it's working. Yes, it is working.
I'm on video, so I can't talk, but just...
I'm just going to give Garrett a moment to... Yes, lots of really interesting stuff there. Yes, I love that suggestion of metadata, open cloud metadata as a pedagogical tool. Yeah, sorry, Garrett, I've been wanting to call on you for ages and saw that you were still typing and didn't want to disturb you. But if your microphone does, if you are able to speak at any point, do just kind of butt in. Has anyone else got anything to add on that? Particularly maybe around kind of barriers and what stops you from developing some of the skills or knowledge that you would like to develop? Scout, your story is quite interesting about having taken some courses on Python and R and not really having opportunities to get past the beginner stage. Would you like to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I have taken Coursera courses on Python and introduction to R, and even like using data visualization in R. And as soon as it's done, I do all the data camp exercises. But since I don't use it, every time I come back to one of these tutorials, it's like starting over. And I advise on research data management, and so I don't have a real reason to use it in my work. But also we have a digital scholarship lab at Michigan State University, and we do have in our digital repository team, people who program in Python. So if more people were interested in things like collections as data, maybe we could do some more projects that actually showcase some of these things, and we could do it internal to the library, which I think would be really cool. I think there's going to be pressure for libraries to do more teaching of data science skills to undergrads in the future. And so I think more people in libraries who do have data skills and coding skills are going to be called for, but I can't do it all. You know what I mean? And so I want to do more team things, because that's if you learn to do everything, you'll be expected to. And so it's actually better to work on teams, because if you have more people with different kinds of skills, I think have better projects. So that's my interest, I guess. Always, I actually was drawn to there's data science tutorials out there. There are a dime a dozen, but this idea of data science in GLAM organizations was more compelling. So that's why I came to this session.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's always an open question, kind of how much we can be expected to pick up alongside all of the other things that we're expected to do. So wonder if anyone has any ideas about the kind of activities or resources or whatever, what kind of gaps there are in the current provision that might help with some of this, might give you an opportunity to practice some of the skills in a fairly low key sort of way or something like that. going to put another heading in the document so that if you don't feel up to speaking, you can write something in instead. Yep, because if you leave the room and come back in, or if you just come in late, you don't have access to all the chat history. Hopefully that link should work there, Alex. I hope you're all enjoying the blackbird in my garden, by the way, while we're writing. It's very noisy. It's also got a very fixed repertoire. I've started learning its repertoire, which is a bit weird. Patricia, as you've bravely made a note there, I'm going to invite you to tell us a bit more about what you're thinking in terms of Carpentry's material.
Sorry. Thanks for the unmute button to kick in. I think like there's just generally quite like, still room for some more exercises in the carpentries that are more like humanities focused. I mean, the library carpentry isn't bad. It's quite good already, but it also is like, just covering a few bits, and I think there's like just room in most of the material, or then like, tailor the exercises and the things like the Python and the R stuff to something that is more suitable for other disciplines. I think there was a digital humanities carpentries that got started somewhere. I don't really know where that ended up, but there are I think there are always a few good ideas, but because it's such a huge amount of work, like it's really hard and barely manages to be turned into a full carpentries lesson. I don't know if if that means then that carpentries might not be the the right style for this kind of audience, if it's too much work and not enough adopters and contributors. But something along these lines, maybe a pared down version, I think could be useful.
I would think that there might be some things that we could do in library carpentry that we don't do in data carpentry. So, for example, from the library perspective, the important bit would be how do we get from a digitized bit to a full text and to optical character recognition and quality assurance in there and stuff like that. So that would be something that data carpentry wouldn't be interested in per se, but which would probably draw much more attention than doing a starter course in Python in the library community. But I'm not an expert in optical character recognition, but a course like that would be brilliant for libraries, I think.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Actually, is that from both of you. There's a lot of gaps there in the training material. Yeah, that's something we could potentially get our heads together and work on, which would be great. Sound is good. My video is frozen. Hopefully it's not frozen in too embarrassing a position. This is the trouble with all of these new platforms. It's mostly been working, but occasional problems. Right, we're sort of coming to the end of our time. Has anyone else got any suggestions? Particularly, as long as we hear the blackbirds. I think you can mostly hear the next door neighbour's child whenever I stop talking at the moment. Would folks be interested in kind of a regular online meeting? Like, I know we have a lot of online meetings at the moment. Garrett, it sounds like your microphone is working now. Hi. We've got a few minutes still. Would you like to say what you were trying to say before?
Sure. Okay, my video. Sorry about that. So Safari doesn't work with Juno very well. I did learn that.
Okay. Glad you could join
sorry
us
I
now.
missed it, but I've been really enjoyed the notes that everybody has in the prompts, and I was able to kind of introduce our project in that field. So really, I'm just here largely to learn. I'm not a data scientist, but I'm kind of deliberately trying to figure out what of the GLAM Science Network could be brought into this platform. I would love to be. I actually signed up for the listserv recently, so I hope to continue to learn from the project and from you all.
Fantastic, thanks. The more the merrier. And as Garrett pointed out, we have a mailing list. There's a link at the top of that Google document. It's also linked on the website. Quarterly or biannual meeting could certainly work. Maybe something bigger quarterly, and then maybe kind of more specialist things a bit more often for those people that are interested. So other groups that do similar sort of things, as the Code for Lib community and conference in the US, which was part of my inspiration for this, because I love some of the stuff that they do, and their conference is in a time zone that's not friendly to me. So yeah, so something like that. Would it help to have kind of general sort of social coffee and discussion, show and tell type sessions? I got an opportunity to use to do this in this project lately, and I want to show you all. Maybe some code cafe type thing. I've seen them called, where you have a problem, like a semi-toy problem, but maybe with some real world applications to work on, and everyone kind of sits and works through it at their own pace, and you can kind of ask for help from each other and group up if you want to. Would that be interesting? Would something more asynchronous, like a discussion list or a Slack room, chat room type thing, be useful, so that you can kind of tune in when it suits you? Getting some votes for show and tell. It's good to see. Yes, Garrett, that would be great. We'll stay in touch. Okay, so unless anyone has anything to add, so I'll leave this Google Doc up. I won't share the contents publicly directly, but I will probably pick a few ideas out of there. So if you want to remove anything that you've added, feel free to. But I will leave the document where it is for the foreseeable future for reference. Next steps will be, if you're interested and want to follow up. Oh, there's a message for me. Oh, okay. Yes, sorry, I can see the moderator chat. I just didn't notice that there were messages there. Right, yes, okay. So please do join the mailing list. If you're interested, I'll try and send out updates as plans start to come together on there. The website is on GitHub, so if that's something that you feel confident with, you can make some contributions there. If that's not something that you feel confident with, but you would like to be, that's probably something that we could try and work out how to improve. Join the chat room and introduce yourselves. And generally watch this space. I'm planning to have another meeting sort of informed by some of these discussions in a couple of weeks. So I'll give you a couple of days to join the mailing list and then send out the details of that again. Still looking to find a time slot at the moment. And I think on the schedule, we were due to have a break from now until past. Yeah, I have too many Slack channels too. I'm not a massive fan of making even more. But thank you all so much for your attention and ideas and this strange virtual unconference session. And I'll go and have a break and a leg stretch and a drink, and we'll see you all in the next breakout room in 10 minutes.